Hey, Steve Zalunardo here with Remax Zalunardo Associates, Treviso North. Just a quick update on the current market, current inventory, 20,655 units. It just kind of was reading what we had last week. So last week we're at 21,591 units. So we shed it off literally just shy of like 900 to 1,000 units. And the week prior to that we're at 22,888. So literally, if you look at it, in the last 2 weeks, we shaved off 2,000 units going into the winter months. Remember, this is always December is one of those months where clients say we're not going to list, we're going to wait until the spring or wait after Christmas. It's not the case. List during now, clearly, because you're seeing the inventory drop right down. These are way higher numbers than we're used to going into December. December, we're usually about 12,000 units, 13,000 units, and sometimes even more aggressive years are into 10,000 units. But we're at 20,000 units. We're going to a little bit of a dive. Hopefully, we'll get into the 19,000s the next week or so. And the sales have remained the same in the 700 to 800 range. So we're getting less inventory and the same amount of sales, which is obviously putting pressure on housing. What we're experiencing now, and just on the regular market and the resale market is obviously bidding wars are starting to come back depending on the product, like what house is being offered. We're seeing some of the big buyers come back into the market, the $3-4 million ranges. We have that community that we're selling out in Nobleton, so we're getting consistent appointments with potential buyers. We have two that we have in the oven currently right now that we're nursing right to the finish line. These are just making changes as we're going, so that's great. So it's fantastic. We're starting to see this change going forward, and I think this is what the concern is. Just reading this article this morning, and it's so the Bank of Canada expected lower interest rates again, with odds leaning towards larger cut. Again, remember, it's literally we're going into a election year in next year, and supposedly by February 15th, I think the Liberal Party is eating itself within. So it looks like they're going to oust the current administration. Clearly, they're not happy with its direction nor its popularity. If you kind of see it, doesn't matter anywhere that man goes, he's despised by leaders, and then also a majority of the Canadians currently right now. If it doesn't matter what policies or what parties you're choosing, it's there. It's a very despised man just across the country, and also most continents in the world, right? But if you look at this, so they want to cut down a half more, so 50 basis points out of the overnight lending rate, bring it down to about 3.25. And I think what the concern is this: it's the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate jumped up to 6.8% in November. So this is very, very high. Like normal should be around 3%. The states were about that 3 to 4% here. So 7% is quite high, to be honest. And what I've been talking to, not just family members too in general, because they're in the construction trades and especially the high rise, is that a lot of these high rise, low rise got affected first, a lot of the jobs, because of the builders can't sell anything based on rates, based on cost of building, based on obviously the market conditions. So they've basically just pulled the shovels out of the ground and kind of sat tight. And what that did is, remember, it's the ramifications. You got, we built a house here in Florida. We had 120 we employed 120 different individuals for that one property. So I would imagine it's the same idea in Toronto, which is identical. I think there's maybe a few trades that don't overlap, but it's what doesn't get, the other one gets. So let's just say 120 different workers per property, and you got a community that you're building 200 houses. Do the math, so that's how many people would have been employed, that bringing them a salary from a community. That's non-existing right now, especially in the low-rise residential, where everything's kind of being put on the brakes, and the last of the construction workers having consistent work is high-rise construction. Why? Because the building takes longer to build. We know that. You're going to sell it today. They start doing construction 1.5 years to 2 years after you started construction, and in that project, depending on the size, could be 2 to 3 years until completion. So, a plumber will start in the underground parking, and they'll rise. They'll keep roughing each floor as you're going, and then when that's all roughed, the full building is enclosed. Then they start on Well, the studs are all in. They start roughing it. Then the finishing. They do all the faucets and all that. So imagine floor after floor of floor. So let's just say for a plumber, for example, we'll have a job there for 2 to 3 years. No issues there. But a lot of those buildings are coming offline now because of completion, and a lot of new ones are not going on. So I always revert back to construction because I knew I was part of that industry in the past, and I knew when things didn't sell. I know in 2008-9 when we had the debacle in the United States, like that affected Toronto for about 6 months. I think the builders got very paranoid back in Toronto, and they started pulling the shovel out of the ground, and there was like a lag period. And I remember we, like a whole summer, we didn't work. It was like maybe 1 week on, 3 weeks off. It was a whole thing, and that did a lot of golfing. I'll say that. But at the same time, like that affected us obviously financially, and this is obviously a deeper, way deeper route because this is stemmed in the actual country itself. So you're going to have like a lag period, and I think all these jobs are starting to get posted now that are getting lost, and that's why the unemployment rate's going up. So it is what it is. This is probably going to get worse before it gets better, but at the same time, the market in general has turned a corner. Again, I always revert back to, sounds boring, but when BlackRock said we're in a real estate upcycle, we're in a real estate upcycle. They're going to go full throttle to the finish line to make sure things, the values all come back. So with that said, these rates keep dropping. Optimism in the market, you'll start getting that build process back, and then you'll get these jobs back online. But that's going to take some time. Obviously, there's a lag period. That might be a year and a half. We're thinking for 2025, it's going to be a fury in resale for sure. I think we're going to have like a crazy year. We're already gearing up for it. I think for new construction, whatever's available will sell quite quickly, like from our experiences now with the Tribute site that we're dealing with. And then ultimately, probably by 26, you'll have like a more of a balanced market between high rise and low rise. But again, predictions, and we'll keep you posted as we're going. Have a great day.